Hey guys, so I thought that I would start out the new year by doing a tutorial video on how to create one of my One Heart Lifestyle gemstone slash diffuser bracelets that I make. I don't always use essential oils on my bracelets with the lava stone beads. This one in particular, I just use semi-precious stones and gemstones, but I do like to include the lava stone beads because it just adds an extra element of texture and the option to wear essential oils with them if you want. But let's get started on what materials you're going to need, and we will begin to make a bracelet. I invested in some very inexpensive drawer liner for cutlery drawers and things like that, so there's no slip. I honestly just bought a roll and cut it up into small sheets like this, and then you can just put it in front of you, and that way your beads don't go anywhere on the surface. It's actually kind of brilliant. I was really excited about it, so I'm going to be using one of those in the video, and just as a tip, you can go and get some of that yourself if you want to. So the next thing I'm going to show you is your string. I think it's basically the most important part of the bracelet, beads aside, because it's what holds the beads on the bracelet and keeps it lasting for you. So I use this brand called Stretch Magic. It's the only brand I've purchased since I started making bracelets. I can highly recommend it. I've bought multiple rolls, this roll being the largest, and I've had it for probably a good year, which is saying a lot because I make a lot of bracelets. I usually make about 40 to 60 per show that I'm going to do at markets. Size is important. So this is a 1mm string, which will fit most beads that you purchase, especially from Michael's craft stores or anywhere like that. However, if you're using smaller beads, such as these pearls here, anything basically 4mm size and under, I'll attach a picture for that. You're going to need smaller string to fit through the holes. So I would suggest the 0.8mm. Most other beads that are smaller will fit in this string. If you're making these for yourself or as a gift for somebody else, I would suggest just going to Michael's craft store or wherever it is that's close to you and purchasing strands of beads and stringing them off of that. You can even get bulk packs if you want, but if you're more picky like me and you want to do a certain color or style, you'll probably want to purchase them by the strand. It will tell you right on the packaging what the size of the bead is, which is super helpful, so you can decide if you want to do all the same or you want to mix. I am personally a fan of mixing sizes. Not always, but usually. So I've actually gotten this bracelet again. I've got a multiple sizes, so 3mm, 4mm, and I've got 6mm beads. I think it just adds a little bit of dimension to the bracelet, so not everything is the same, but at the same time, it looks great when you do them all the same. This bracelet here is all 6mm beads, except for this little Swarovski at the front there. And it looks gorgeous. It actually goes with my outfit today. But it's all in what style of bracelet you're doing. So I don't always mix them, but I do like that look. I usually suggest picking up some little accent beads to break up your pattern. It just adds a little bit of dimension and it will help you create your pattern a little bit more seamlessly. First things first, you're going to need to cut your string. In terms of the size of string you're going to need for your bracelet, that is dependent on whether it's for you or for somebody else. So taking my 1mm string, I'll wrap it around my wrist and I will leave at least a couple of inches of space of the string underneath my wrist. If you cut it too short, when you go to tie your knot, you won't have enough leverage and it will snap. So I would suggest leaving at least a few inches at the bottom there, and then that is where you will cut it. That is honestly as simple as it is to get your string size. The next step is actually stretching your string. I know this sounds silly, but it's a big step that people miss when they're stringing bracelets, and usually it's where people go wrong. So take your string. Now try not to let it go. It will snap back and it hurts. It's elastic. So make sure you're holding tight on each end of the string and just kind of with your fingers grab the string and get a little bit of tension and pull the string. Don't reef on it. Don't do it too hard. You just want a little bit of tension, but you do want to actually pre-stretch the string out. So for the bracelet that I'm making, I'm dreaming of spring. I know it's so far from being time for that, but I've got it on my brain. So I'm actually going to do some kind of peachy tones with rose gold. So I have kind of picked my beads here. Basically, I'm just going to start to actually string them onto the bracelet. I don't know at this point what my pattern is going to be. I just kind of have an idea of what colors I want to do. So I grabbed beads in those tones and I just kind of laid them out in front of me. How you string your beads on your bracelet is completely up to you in terms of the pattern, obviously. But in my, for my bracelets, I like to have my lava stones on the underside if I'm going to be using essential oils on it. It just, then it's hidden and you don't see it from the top. Similar to this bracelet here, the lava beads are at the underside, so when I'm wearing it, nobody knows that that is what this bracelet is. They just think that it's a really beautiful little bracelet, and that's it. In terms of actually stringing them on, just leave one end of the string right on the mat there and start actually figuring out what your pattern is going to be. I like to string from both sides, so it's up to you whether you want to tie a knot on the end of the bracelet. I would say don't tie that knot there. Let it be open and you can actually just string from both sides. That way if you make a mistake or you want to change something, you can take off of each end rather than having to pull all of the beads off of the bracelet. That's the worst. Now I've got some beads actually on my string here, and I'm just going to show you the pattern that I'm working with. I have rose gold hematite on either side of some really, really cute peach aventurine beads in an 8mm size. They are matte, so they kind of have this frosted look to them, which I think is beautiful. Again, you can go really monotone, you can get a lot of contrast, but for this particular look, I am dreaming of spring, so I want it to be really light and airy and very pink and peachy, because that's what I usually go for. So I have started to string on the lighter peach again, and at this point I'm just going to check for size. Because it is for me, I'm able to do that. So what I like to do is pick up my bracelet by each end, be careful, and I will cross the two strings as if I'm going to tie a knot. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to hold them there. So don't go forward with tying a knot just yet. And at that point I will slip it onto my wrist just to see what I'm working with. So I can see my pattern starting to form, which is really, really pretty, very spring-like here. And those larger beads are going to sit ideally on the top of my wrist, and then the rose gold wraps around each side. But I definitely need more beads. Like, this is way too small. So I'm going to keep stringing and adding beads on. I think I've got my sizing down now. I have added my lava beads on the back side of the bracelet here. When I tie it, it will be the underside. So I have one on each end. I'm a very symmetrical person, so I like when my pattern works out obviously to be the same on each side, but not everyone's like that. And some bracelets look really fun when they're all mixed up and you don't follow a pattern. I just happen to be a really symmetrical person, so all of my jewelry usually ends up this way, except for if I'm making it for somebody else purposefully. In terms of actually tying your bracelet, I have a way that I tie it that works for me and makes my bracelets last the longest without the knot breaking, and it lets me cut as close to the knot as possible, so I have as little extra string hanging off of the bracelet. They usually end up pretty inconspicuous. I will attach a picture of a couple of the knots that I've done. Sometimes it takes me a second to find the knot on the bracelet, which is a good sign. So you can take each of those ends and cross them over, just like you're going to when you were testing it, and just like you're going to do an actual regular knot. So your beads should be touching. You should be able to pull them close enough that they are together. And you're going to cross over your string again and loop it through as if you're going to do a double knot. However, before you actually close that knot up, you're going to take the one end of the string and loop it through a second time. So you should end up with 1, 2, 3, 4 little loops. So you crossed over the first time, take your two ends and cross over again like you're actually going to knot it. However, before you pull tight, put the one end through a second time, and you'll end up with 4 little loops. If you have 4 little loops there, you'll know you did something right. So at that point, you can actually pull each end tight, and you can see why I said to leave extra string, because you need something to be able to grasp onto. Pull the knot tightly, but don't rip on it. You need to just make sure you're being gentle at the same time. I went very slow when I did that. And you can take each end of the string and pull tight with some tension. I will switch sides. I will sit here and I will kind of do this for a couple minutes, just so that I know that knot is nice and tight and isn't going anywhere. Sometimes, the luck of the draw, it will snap or the knot will come loose, and it sucks, but it happens, and it's not even about practice at that point. Sometimes it's just pure bad luck. If you see any holes in the knot, you'll know it's not done properly. At this point, I've got the knot pretty secure, so I actually am able to slip it on comfortably and take the bracelet off and not have to worry about the knot coming undone. But it is a good test. If you're making it for someone else, try and slip it on your wrist and see how it goes. But it is looking really nice at this point. So I've just got to cut off my extra string and we will see how it looks. So you can take your scissors and go as close to the knot as you feel comfortable. Again, that knot should be holding, so you can go fairly close, and I will take a picture to show you. You can just get rid of the excess, and you're done. That's your bracelet. It looks really pretty. I actually like this one. I'll probably keep it for myself to wear. But that's the fun, is that you create something that you're surprised by. I didn't even have a pattern in mind, and it fits perfectly. I've still got a little bit of stretch you can see to get it on and off, but generally it fits pretty snug to my wrist. You can't see any gaps, and I can comfortably move it around. That's exactly what I wanted. And I've got my beautiful 8mm beads at the top, and I transitioned into 6mm along the rest of the bracelet with my lava stones on the underside for my essential oils, which I will show you how to put on as well. In terms of essential oils, I've got my oil box here. You can really add anything that you want to your bracelet. You can use a roller and dab that on there if you don't have any essential oil bottles. But I usually just actually choose a bottle of something that I want to add. In this case, I'm going to put clary sage on my bracelet. In case anyone's wondering, I got my box from doTERRA. I have a membership with them, so I ordered this box unfinished, and then I actually painted it myself and did a stencil on it just for fun. But it's actually kind of bare at the moment. I don't have a lot of oils. I've been using them like crazy. I have to restock, but I absolutely love this box. It's my everything for storing my oils. So at this point, you can take your bracelet where your lava stones are. And again, this is optional. You don't have to use oils, but take your oil bottle, hold your bracelet. Mine takes a second for the oil to actually come out, so I will wait for that. But you really only want 1 drop of oil, and you just let it sit right on the beads, and that's it. It's literally that simple. 1 drop is all you need. Do not flood them. It will last you at least 1 to 2 days. Realistically, you'll still have the smell on there. After that, it just dissipates, and you can add another oil in whatever scent you want and start wearing that. That is really it for making the bracelet. I hope that you can find a way to be creative with it, whether it's for you or for somebody else. I love the process. I think it's so fun. It's a very therapeutic craft or hobby to get into, and I just think it's something to be proud of, that you get to wear something that you made. It's lovely having handmade jewelry. So I absolutely love this bracelet. It's exactly what I wanted to give that kind of spring feel, and I hope that you can make something that you love too. Thanks for watching. Take care, guys.